Why do the hardest working managers never get promoted while others rise with half the effort? After coaching dozens of mid-level managers, I've seen the same pattern over and over. The ones who move up the quickest aren't doing more. They're making 3 simple changes that make their impact impossible to miss. So in this video, I'll show you how to implement these 3 easy changes that helped one manager land 4 promotions in just 2 years so that you can stand out and get the promotion that you deserve. So how did this overlooked manager turn everything around and get promoted 4 times? For this to make sense, let me show you the problem that he had that most managers struggle with. This is DeVon. DeVon had the skills, he had the work ethic, but at first his team didn't really listen to him. And when that promotion came up, his name never even made the list.
I felt like the team wasn't taking me seriously. Even clear asks weren't getting followed through.
So what exactly did I teach him to go from that to being promoted over and over? Let me show you how this simple change works using my favorite midday work beverage. So these glasses represent your team, and this apple cider represents the various levels of trust that they have in you. When your team's glass is full, you've built trust, you've acknowledged effort, you've shown that you've got their back. So when you ask them to do something they don't really want to do, no problem, they're in. Here, maybe, they'll consider it, but they're not all in. You can get them to do what you need, but as soon as you do, you've depleted that trust. This is when managers say, why won't anybody step up? Yeah, that's why, because you haven't put anything in. Let me know in the comments which one of these is your team, because every employee is at one of these levels, and it's important to pay attention to them. Most managers, just like DeVon, only start rallying their team when things are urgent. But by then, it's too late to build the trust that makes people want to step up. But once DeVon made this change to keep his glass full at all times, that's when he became promotion ready. Probably shouldn't be drinking this on an empty stomach. Whoops.
Once I started using the shifts you told me and the plan that you gave me, the system, it's crazy how people were finally starting to take me serious. They actually listened to me.
So how can you do the same thing as DeVon to get your promotion? Well, here's how you start filling up your team's glasses. Number 1, send one specific compliment after every one-on-one. Hey Jenny, your summary in that meeting cut through all the noise, and that's exactly what we needed. Great job. And when people feel seen like that, they bring sharper thinking to work without needing to be pushed. And that's how you stop being seen as just another manager and start being remembered as one who sharpens performance without micromanaging. And number 2, this one is so important. Remember one detail about their life outside of work and follow up on it. Hey, how did Nora's game go this weekend? You mentioned she had playoffs. That shows that you see them as a person, not just a little wind-up task machine. And that's the kind of trust that sticks with them. And not only does it build trust, but it builds loyalty so that when crunch time hits, they want to step up for you, not just comply. And then finally, number 3, celebrate small wins publicly. Something simple like, hey, quick shout out. Jess's revision to the client deck helped us close that contract. That kind of praise builds momentum across the team and positions you as the kind of leader who builds people up. Because leaders who do this don't just grow teams, they get noticed by the people deciding who leads next. And after DeVon used this system, he had that trust. His team was finally on board. But that's when a new problem popped up. They were all willing to help, but he was still struggling with something that is most likely costing you your next promotion. So what was holding DeVon back from getting promoted?
I would ask someone to do something, just whatever task it may be, and they would come back with something totally different and completely off. It got to the point where I felt drained all the time and just trying to explain what I needed.
If you can't get your team on the same page as you, your next promotion isn't happening. Because promotable leaders don't just delegate, they get their team moving in sync. And I don't mean the 2000s boy band. Ba ba ba. So how did DeVon go from constant confusion to clean execution? Let me show you how this works. Imagine I was to hand you this. It's labeled, it has a destination, you see who it's for and where it came from. Oh, it's for Gary down the hall. Got it, I'll take it over to him. You know exactly what to do. It feels important and you want to make sure it gets to where it's supposed to go. Now, imagine I hand you this. What are you supposed to do with it? Play? Drop it? Ignore it? You'd have no idea. That's why your team keeps bouncing tasks back half done or totally wrong, because what you sent didn't land like a priority, it landed like a party trick. Most managers toss vague tasks and assume people know what to do next, but it's light and there's no weight, no clarity, so it bounces back, or worse, it gets dropped completely. So how do you make sure your team understands their assignment without fail? Here's how to stop tossing ping pong tasks and start handing off packages people finally follow through on. First, you need to label it clearly. Instead of saying, "Can you get this done soon?" you want to say something like, "I need the client report finalized and accurate by Thursday." That tells them what done actually means. That's how you go from sounding like someone asking for help to someone driving outcomes, like a leader who owns results. Next, you need to give it a destination. Say, "This report is going to the VP. It'll shape next quarter's operations, so we want it to be on point." When they know who it's for and why it matters, they handle it differently. This is how you make your team feel the weight of their work and they're doing something important, and how leadership sees you as someone who connects the dots across all levels. And finally, set a timetable. Tell them it doesn't need to be perfect, just clean, complete, and ready to review by 3 p.m. on Thursday. That gives them a clear scope and a deadline. No guessing, no overwork, no drama, because deadlines without drama are what make you look like someone who runs a high-trust team, and that's what gets you promoted. And once DeVon started delegating like that, clear goals, clear purpose, clear expectations, his team started executing in ways he never dreamed possible.
It was crazy to see everyone finally on the same page. That was very surprising. Everyone was actually working together as a team and not just a bunch of individual pieces moving around like a chess piece on a board, right?
But here's what he wasn't expecting. Even with all that clarity, he was still exhausted, because he kept making this one critical mistake that undid all his progress. So what was this massive mistake, and how can you avoid it?
Even with that clarity, people still made plenty of mistakes. I feel like everyday work was jumping in and correcting issues, right? I was just trying to do that as much as I could.
If you've ever felt like this, always busy but not productive, this is a massive red flag if you want to get promoted. So how can you fix this? Well, the best way to explain how this works is by telling you a quick story of how I got punked by a little girl. When I was 8, I had an arch nemesis who lived down the street. Her name was Jessica. She was my nemesis because we were the same age, but she could ride a bike without training wheels and I couldn't. Every day she'd roll past my house and flex on me by ringing that little bell on her bike. Freaking hated it. So one day I had enough and I told my dad, "I'm done with the training wheels. Take them off." But at the same time, I was terrified of falling. So my dad would run behind me, one hand on the back of my seat, holding me steady as I wobbled down the sidewalk. Then one day, I'm pedaling like usual, white-knuckling the handlebars, and I look back and my dad's not there. He had let go. I was riding on my own. And for a split second, I panicked because the safety net was gone. But then I realized I wasn't falling. I was doing it. And in that moment, I felt unstoppable. But here's the point. Imagine if my dad never let go. Or worse, he let go but kept running up to grab the seat again every time Jessica was around. Not only would that have been humiliating, but I never would have learned how to ride. And that's exactly what most managers do. They think they're delegating, but then they run alongside, correcting every wobble. That's not trust. That's training wheels. And your bosses can see when you can't let go. So if you want your team to actually grow and you want your time back, here's how to let go without losing control. Number 1, set the done right target up front. I know I already said this earlier, but this is so important. Say something like, "This presentation needs to feel exec ready, tight no filler, and every slide tied to the decision we're driving. Now they're not guessing what you want. That's how you stop being the quality control bottleneck and start being seen as someone who drives clarity from the top down. Number 2, use checkpoints, a mid-level checkpoint and a pre-delivery checkpoint. When you hand the project off, let them know you'll check in halfway through to course correct early. Then, again before it goes out, not to redo it, but to just catch true issues. This keeps accountability without hovering, because leaders who trust and verify aren't micromanagers, they're precision operators. That's a big difference. And then number 3, only step in when something's actually off track, not just off your style. If it works and it gets the result, let it ride. Who cares? That's how your team learns and feels like they have ownership and how to get your time back. And this is how leadership sees you as ready to do more within your company.
Once I started setting up checkpoints with my team regularly, not only did they appreciate the trust I had in them, but I felt like I could finally get the work done that would get me noticed, right?
But even if your team is crushing it, you won't get promoted if no one sees those results. And most managers completely blow the moment that matters most. So go watch this video next and I'll show you how to use AI to make your work impossible to miss without sounding like a show off. So when leadership looks around for who's next, they see you.